Mr. President, as many of others have said, today is a memorable day in our nation's history. Osama bin Laden, a man responsible for the deaths of thousands of innocent victims, including so many Americans lost on September 11, 2001, has been killed. I commend President Obama and his national security team for the careful planning of this operation, as well as the members of our intelligence agencies who spent years collecting information that made it possible. Many of us know that when the president nominated Leon Panetta to be the director of the CIA, he told him that his first directive must be to find Osama bin Laden. I've known Director Panetta for nearly 30 years. I know this is a man, when he takes on a task, takes it on very seriously. And in commending him, I also commend all those men and women who worked with him on this. But I know that he gave singular attention to this issue. But I also want to join Americans across the country in praising the brave team. The storm, the compound where bin Laden appears to have been hiding for years. They completed their mission without loss of American lives, took care to avoid civilian casualties. Mr. President, I've had the privilege of going and watching some of these people part of these special forces train. I watched the tremendous training they undergo, whether the SEALs or parts of JSOC or whatever it may be. Remarkable, remarkable people. And every one of them had to go there yesterday knowing that they may not return. But we also remember today the victims of all the attacks perpetrated by a man who more than any other represents the face of international terrorism. September 11th attacks are at the forefront of our mind. Nearly 3,000 lives were lost, including those victims in the World Trade Center and the Pentagon on the 4 airplanes. I remember that day as vividly as though it was yesterday. We also remember with gratitude the first responders who rushed in to save lives, even knowing they're risking their own, and so many who did die in trying to save others. What amazing acts of heroism. And then, of course, the passengers on Flight 93 who put the lives of Americans on the ground ahead of their own. But we should not forget and must remember the 6 victims of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and the victims of the embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania in 1998, which left 224 dead, including 12 Americans. We certainly must remember the lives of the 17 sailors killed in the bombing of the USS Cole in October 2000. Now, the death of Osama bin Laden will not bring them back to us, but we should all hope that it may help bring closure to those family members and friends who still grieve their loss. Today, remember the lives of the brave American service members who served in the war in Afghanistan and the sacrifices made by their families who mourn their loss or help them recover from the injuries, as we do those who have served in Iraq. Vermonters have answered the call to serve, some for multiple deployments with the Vermont National Guard, many most recently with the 86th Infantry Brigade, which returned last December. And of course, we thank the brave men and women who've worked tirelessly to protect American soil from additional attacks. Now, Osama bin Laden cloaked his attacks in anti-American rhetoric, but his murderous and criminal path took the lives of innocents around the world, including many of his own faith. He proved himself to be what he was, a cold-blooded murderer whose indiscriminate attacks have led to the death and maiming of Muslims and people of other faiths all around the world. But regrettably, he leaves behind followers who are committed to the same message of hate and destruction. They have no regard for the values that unite the rest of humanity in common cause. We should not cloak this person in the guise of somebody who deals with religious fervor. He is a murderer, a murderer, a murderer. President Obama pledged that we'd bring Osama bin Laden to justice. And last night we learned that bin Laden has suffered the consequences of his atrocities. Justice has been served. Now I hope that Americans will claim this moment to stand side by side, as we did in the weeks and months following the September 11 attacks. Let us do as we did then, transcend our differences and stand in unity, unified in our support for the victims of bin Laden's crime and our resolve to keep our great nation safe, but also stand united in our commitment to the rights and principles that define us as a democratic nation that respects the rule of law. Actually, that respect is what distinguishes us from those who seek to harm us. It is what will ultimately enable us to succeed against it, and is what people around the world expect of America. Regrettably, the September 11 attacks and other acts of international terrorism have often been used to justify policies which stray dangerously from those rights and principles. And when that's happened, it's damaged our global reputation, it's hurt our credibility, but also, ironically, it's made it more difficult to build the broadest alliances against terrorism. We also have to remember, as so many of our military leaders have told us, the military force, while at times necessary, as it was in the operation against Osama bin Laden, is not a counterterrorism strategy. We've seen how nearly 10 years after 9/11, having spent hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions, to combat terrorism, the recruitment of terrorism among disaffected youth continues apace around the world, including in our own country. We've also seen how much more we have to do to counter the misperceptions and misinformation fomented by extremists about the United States and our intentions. Addressing these challenges should be a priority as we go forward. So I urge all Americans to support our president in this continuing effort. I urge all of us in Congress to join together for the good of the country and all Americans. It is remarkable what this country accomplishes and how strong and brave and wonderful we are when we stand together. Now's the time to stand together. We've done it before. We can do it now. And we're a better country when we do it.